Hi everybody, welcome to Education Alchemist YouTube channel. The following video is Jay David, who is head of digital learning solutions for a large international company, interviewing Professor Julie Salmon on how to promote digital empathy using the 5-stage model.
I'm Professor Salmon. I'm most interested in knowing more about the concepts of digital empathy, and especially how digital empathy might play out between groups of learners and their facilitators in fully digital and remote learning groups.
Okay, well, that's a very interesting question. Well, let's first agree what we mean by digital empathy. So, empathy usually means our ability to understand and sharing the thoughts and feelings of others. I think we'd agree on that. It really, is a fundamental concept of underpinning understanding other people, connection with others, compassion, even. But when we add digital in front of it, it is still about communication, but mediated through a digital device or in an online environment like this one that we're talking on now. I'm sure we'd pretty much all agree that being online with others has a kind of different feel to us to being in the same physical place. So that's what I'm meaning by digital empathy. It's empathy, but done differently.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. So, does digital empathy feature in your long-term research and practice in online education?
So, one key concept in my research and practice is called the 5-stage model. Now, these are the 5 stages, and you can listen out to see if you can hear anything empathetic in it. So, the 5 stages are 1, access and motivation for learners, 2, building successful learning teams, 3, learning and working together cooperatively, 4, working together collaboratively, and 5, personal development and looking back for looking forward. Now, they are steps which lead to more successful learning and achievement. Critically, each step has an element of digital empathy involved.
Okay, thank you so much. That enlightens a lot. Also, my questions about when should we care about digital empathy? Actually, it's all way long from what I understand, and that makes sense. So, knowing more about digital empathy can help us build our community of learners and practice, if I understood correctly. What do we need to do?
Okay, what do we need to do? So, first, seek some understanding of the 5-stage model. It can be used both as a design tool to create the optimum experience for learners and also as a checklist for facilitators during the delivery of the learning. So I'll go through the stages. At stage 1, when planning the course, do not expect learners simply to fill in a profile, upload photos, reveal a great deal about themselves without first getting to know others through small digital activities. We call these e-activities. Some particularly successful activities at the beginning are those such as taking a picture of their study room or a view outside their window, could be a favourite beach, a football team, or music. In other words, encourage them to share right from the beginning. Find others with whom they can identify, but also ask questions about perhaps areas of the world they've not visited. So you can see you're starting to put the building blocks of empathy in right from the beginning. So at stage 2, this is the small scale team building, offer them activities related to the course, but in small groups of 2 or 3, perhaps offering them scenarios or case studies for them to discuss and prioritize, bring their own views to, and agree in their groups which they'd like to explore more. Don't forget to give clear deadlines and ask groups to post their joint ideas, the small group ideas, in a wiki or a Padlet, and then ask other groups to comment in on the similarities and differences with their ideas. So at this stage, what you're doing is you're building an empathetic approach, but you're making it manageable in small groups. So that was 1 and 2. Stage 3, you can by stage 3 expect some cooperation with others to be occurring. Now, by cooperation, you will find that although you might see some signs of digital empathy, learners are still largely pursuing their individual goals, but should be increasingly willing to contribute something to group work. So offer them 2 or 3 activities at stage 3 that they can practice and take some responsibility for understanding others as well as pursuing their own goals. Do it in a small scale way at stage 3. Now, if you do this, it will give you a good step to stage 4, where you can design and deliver collaborative activities. Now, collaboration is where learners will be capable of taking accountability for areas of group work, which will involve listening to and supporting others to achieve joint goals. So you can see the empathy gradually building, almost like a snowball effect. There's one more stage, and stage 5 is an opportunity for students to display some of their skills of reflection and also of metacognition. In other words, you need to provide them in the course with opportunities to look back not only on what they've learned, but how they've engaged and communicated with their peers during the course, what they've contributed and what they have learned as a result. Now, that means you have built them to some form of digital empathy. They haven't had it to meet, but they've used the digital environment to do that.
Oh, thank you so much. These are really practical and useful tips for any digital facilitator willing to moderate and deliver with empathy an online course. Now, I would go a step further. I would like to ask you whether digital empathy can help us with enabling diversity, individual identity, and inclusiveness.
Yeah, that's a big one, but there is a fair bit of evidence that well-designed online courses using this kind of scaffold benefit people who do less well in classroom-based learning groups. So there's empathy, but it is digital. They can be more reflective, more accepting, essentially less stereotypical than a standard face-to-face classroom. I mean, the reasons for this, well, working asynchronously, for example, gives more time for people to prepare what they're going to say, what they're going to contribute. Perhaps they might be concerned about their use of language, or are naturally shy, or come from a culture that doesn't usually put themselves forward or respond to others. So using my suggestions at stage 1 and encouraging activity, that will mean that you can avoid some of the stereotyping that happens, because you can see people, you know what gender they're presenting at, you know what they sound like, you know whether they've got an accent and so on. And this does actually encourage people to find their own voice and to present themselves to others rather than worrying about how they look and sound all the time. So this obviously makes a huge difference in improved inclusiveness. In terms of the larger scale picture, I mean, like enrollments in online courses, in fully digital courses, they open up access to many people who would be unable to attend a campus or a training environment, a physical environment, for all sorts of reasons: finance, location, quite commonly other life commitments. Now, to be clear, this is not a deficit model, but a more accessible and accommodating of different strokes, needs and lifestyles. Therefore, it is most important that facilitators recognise that they are looking to create an equivalent experience regardless of the mode of learning, and that people can definitely be empathetic and build really successful learning sets with their peers through good and well-designed online environments.
Thank you. Well, now I'm going to play the devil's advocate and ask you this question. Do you think, Professor Salmon, that online learning is a paid imitation of a real human relationship?
Well, you can play devil's advocate, but I really don't think you're the devil in this. For me, it is definitely not a pale imitation. I've seen many, many people blossom entirely through online learning, often over a day, a week, a year, or even a whole course. It is a different experience, but I think perhaps even more beneficial for some. And it's definitely scalable, so large numbers of people who can take part who wouldn't otherwise be able to do so. So I think an understanding of digital empathy helps us as designers of these experiences, and then as facilitators of the learning groups. We're definitely still human, we've just got digital mediation.
Thank you so much, Professor Salmon. I take all those great advice and tips in my toolkit. And I think, yeah, it will really be useful. Thank you so much.
Good luck, everyone, with your digital empathy.
Thanks so much for watching. I shall put in the description below any useful links that may relate to this video. And we are really trying to grow the Education Alchemists online family. So we'd love it if you could subscribe so you can be notified for any additional content when we release it. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you here soon.